Welcome back to Atkins Ever After podcast. I'm your host Mike, and this is Nikisha.
The whole name, the full Nikisha, not Keisha, Key, nothing. The full name.
Well,
okay, I mean that is my name, so it's fine.
You know what? We've been watching that show Carmichael, so
yeah,
it got me.
Please, okay. Yeah, I understand.
Yeah,
it's fine.
Yeah, I gotta check that out.
Call me whatever you want. So, baby, are you ready for our first segment, which is the appreciation post?
Yes. Okay. I've been waiting for this for a couple of days.
Oh, okay. I'm excited. So then, guess what? You don't have to wait any further. I'll let you go first.
Okay. So, my appreciation post for you is I appreciate how direct you are. So, there's no beating around the bush. There's no dancing and singing.
Yeah.
You know, you're straight up. You know, you don't play any games. You mean what you say, what you want, you ask for, or you command.
Command?
Well, you command. And, you know, that's what I appreciate. You know, just straight up, real, straight to the point, honest, and, you know, commanding.
Is that one of the reasons why you married me?
That's one of many.
Well, thank you, baby. Sometimes being direct, so direct, is not appreciated by a lot of people.
I can see.
So it can feel intimidating to some people. So I'm so grateful to have you appreciate that part of me, because that's a part of who I genuinely am. So
yes,
thank you.
Welcome.
It means the world. It really does. Okay, so my turn. What do I appreciate about you? I appreciate your growth in openly and honestly communicating your feelings to me. We did a lot of work together in a lot of different areas, and I always wanted you to feel comfortable to say what was on your mind, to say how you feel about something, whether it was agreeing with me or disagreeing with me. I wanted you to feel comfortable enough to own your feelings and then communicate those to me, right? And that's something that you've done a beautiful job with. And I really appreciate that, because I always want to make sure that you feel valued and respected. And so if I don't know how you're feeling about something, then I feel like I can't showcase those things in the way that I normally would be able to, right? So I appreciate the work that you've done in that space. I'm so proud of you, and I encourage you to continue to do that with me and with everyone else that you encounter.
Wow, thank you. I truly appreciate that. I definitely see how you see how far I've come.
Yeah.
It's definitely been a change, and I appreciate you pushing me.
Absolutely. I recognize all the beautiful changes that you've made. I do, and I value them, and I value you for even wanting to make changes like that. I know that it has brought our relationship to another level, because I'm the kind of woman who I respect that more than you hiding your feelings and then it coming out in another kind of way towards me, right? I respect you more with you being able to be open and honest and upfront right away with me. So, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Well,
so that's my appreciation for you.
Wow. I feel special.
You should. I'm glad you do.
But this is part 3 of our intimacy series, and we're back. We're going to be discussing boundaries today.
Yeah, how to create healthy boundaries. Yes. Absolutely. So before we get started, you guys, make sure you go and check out the first 2 parts of our intimacy series. It's a 4-part series. So this is currently, like Baby said, this is episode 3, but make sure you go check out the first one, which we get into all the types of intimacy except sexual, right?
Yes.
That was a great conversation. I think we made a lot of valid points. You know, we always put our relationship in it, so we talk about how we've been able to be successful in mastering somewhat those points, right?
Yeah.
And then the second part was about sexual intimacy. And there was a lot of chemistry that we showed on video. But that's normal for us. We have great chemistry. So now we're going to talk about how to develop healthy boundaries in relationship, in marriage. So, Dave.
So what is a boundary?
What is a boundary? Basically, in my opinion, in my words, I should say, not my opinion, but in my words, it's the opportunity to be able to share your likes and dislikes, your wants, things that make you feel uncomfortable, things that you feel like you need from your partner. It's really about communicating those things to your partner. That's what I feel like a boundary is.
So, what I used to feel like a boundary is like, don't do this, or you violating.
So like a limit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a limit.
Yeah. So
it's a limit.
That's what I used to think it was. So I guess I was kind of
No, you're right. You're right. That's exactly what it is. It's a limit. It's me saying, baby, I don't like this, right? And if you do this thing, it's gonna make me feel this way. It's gonna make me feel violated. It's gonna make me feel like I can't trust you. You know, all these negative results could come from crossing that boundary, especially once we've communicated it. But we getting ahead of, and we getting deep in our conversation. But no, you're exactly right.
Yeah. So and the reason why I say I used to think that is because like I come to see with myself is really expectations too.
Yeah, it is. And also another part of that is I think when people hear the word boundaries, they think, oh, something bad. Oh, goodness. But it is necessary, in my opinion, to have healthy boundaries, healthy expectations, like you said. I think this is a great way to look at it as expectations. You know, everybody has expectations, not just of your partner, or should, let me say that.
Yeah.
Just in life in general. You know, there is a certain way that all of us should expect someone else to treat you. If you don't set expectations, set boundaries, people will say and do anything.
Yeah, you have expectations on jobs. You have
expectations
on air flights.
Exactly.
You got expectations in a lot of things. So.
Hotels. When you go and you travel and you visit different places, exactly. There are expectations all around us. Yeah. Boundaries all around us. So the most intimate part of your life is your relationship with your significant other and or your family. Yeah. So why wouldn't it be boundaries set within those types of spaces too? You know?
That's right. So as far as boundaries go, you have different types of boundaries.
Yeah.
So which one would you say is the most important to you?
I don't think that there's one that is greater than another. I think they all are very important just to make sure that we keep our relationship successful and healthy, which is why I think boundaries are important anyway. Like they give me, I'll use myself for an example. They give me an opportunity to thoroughly communicate to you things that make me feel comfortable and things that make me feel uncomfortable. Personally, I'm not someone who likes to assume anything, and I try my best not to put you in a situation where you have to assume, which is why direct and clear communication is very important to me, right? So I feel like if I haven't came out of my mouth and said it to you, it's kind of hard for me to hold you to that standard of not doing this thing. If you don't know that's a boundary that I have, and then you do it, then how can I feel violated?
Yeah.
Or because that's not being fair to you. Now, if I've communicated to you and then you violate, now that's an issue, But I don't think that there's one that's greater than the other for me. What about you?
For me, it'd probably be physical.
Physical?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
So you want to get into what some of those physical boundaries look like?
Like, putting hands on, violence or abuse.
Yeah.
That's, slapping.
Yeah.
Anything like that. So, definitely physical.
Yeah. Baby, you don't have to worry about it. I would never abuse you. Never. Not in a real way. Okay? Okay. This is the intimacy series. No, I mean, I can agree to that. I definitely wouldn't want to welcome that or make you feel like it's okay. I'm so much smaller than you, like, you could literally take my life. If, seriously, if you really use that much force against me. Thankfully, we don't have any issues of physical abuse in our relationship. We never have.
No.
So, that's, I think we're good there. Communication is considered the physical boundary. Um, when you think about communication, though, how could that be a boundary? You feel like what kind of boundaries can you set within that space?
I would say yelling in tone, like don't yell at me. You don't have to speak in a condescending tone or
Yeah.
Things that would make you feel for being aggressed.
Yeah. What about this? Now, this is something that you and I have come to an agreement in.
Is aggressed a word?
We'll look it up.
Okay.
We'll look it up. Something that you and I have come to an agreement in is if we feel something, we say something. So if you've done something to make me feel judged or it has a negative result towards me, instead of me holding that in, I need to say something to you. Right?
Right.
If you disagree with something that I've said or am doing, then you need to say something to me. I feel like that's also a communication boundary that we've set, in that we don't internalize our feelings, right? They have to be put out, because if they're not put out, how are we going to know that we've crossed the boundary, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Because one thing too is we got to take into consideration our life experiences up until this point.
Mm.
We don't know what type of triggers. We don't know all the triggers that one another are dealing with. We do know some, but we don't know all yet, just because we've not encountered situations that has triggered it. It hasn't triggered the trigger, right?
Yeah.
So until it gets to that place, I think that in order for us to be able to work through that when it happens, is for us to communicate how we're feeling, good, bad, or indifferent. Happy, sad, mad, scared, frustrated, whatever. It don't matter. And then allow that person the opportunity to not be judged or feel like, oh, here you go talking about your feelings again.
Yeah.
But to feel welcome. Yeah, baby, let's sit down. Let's talk it through. Things like that. To really support each other through it. So I think that can be a form of communication boundaries.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. It seems like every episode that we have, communication comes into effect. Like communication.
It's the center. You guys, do you think communication is key to a healthy relationship? Like, if we can't truly converse, what do we have? Because people go through ups and downs every day, all day. You're encountering different situations that trigger all sorts of emotions. So if when I talk to you, if something has happened to upset me and I can't tell you that, or I feel like you're going to be dismissive or you're going to make a joke out of it, then I don't need to be with you.
I can definitely see how that would break someone down to not communicate.
Yeah, and then communication is the catalyst to trust. Either it helps me continue to trust you, or it helps me not to trust you. Right? Because it's all about the way, whatever the responses are like.
Yes.
So, what about envying your partner? What does that look like, baby?
Wow. So I would say envying a partner may be like, okay, social media. They may see you getting attention or likes and things of that sort, and they're not getting it. Or say, for instance, that you may be quote unquote more successful in your career than they are, make more money.
Yeah.
You may have better relationships, as far as friendships.
Yeah.
You may have better relationships as far as your family than them. So I believe those are some things that could cause envy within a relationship. It sounds crazy.
It
but
do.
I mean, it's real.
It happens for sure. It does sound crazy, I guess. To me, I've never experienced it in a relationship. Partner wise, I always chose to work together. To progress the family. But yeah, I mean, that's definitely something that need to be talked about. I would feel like if one of the partners felt like the other one was envious of whatever,
Yes.
That's something that would have to be communicated and worked out right away, because you're not going to be able to progress as a couple, as a family. Every time I take 10 steps or you take 10 steps forward, my envy is trying to pull you 15 steps back.
That's crazy.
And you're not getting anywhere. So that's definitely a way that a physical boundary can be set. It's not being envious.
Wow. So if a person was to realize they are in that situation of having an envious partner, like what do you feel is a way to discuss that, or bring that to a place that is not?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question, because you have to, me personally, I would feel like I needed to be very strategic in how I even brought that up, because more than likely that person is not going to come right out and just admit it. Oh yeah, I am jealous of you. Like, that's not going to happen, And so now you can run into the risk of that person feeling like they're being accused of something, and they backlash towards you, and it could just really be this whole thing. So I mean, I would say, depending upon, well, I feel like you need to converse about it no matter what the level of intensity is. But if that person who feels like their spouse is envious of them, if they feel uncomfortable with doing that, they might want to find a mediator, someone that they trust, and also, being envious is just the result of something. So what is that root cause? What is that issue, that true issue that makes them envious? Maybe in their life they had situations where parents or family members, friends, always said, oh, you're never going to amount to anything, right? And now you get with the spouse and they're in the spotlight, if you will, all the time. And it's making them feel those same things of how they grew up or whatever, right? So it's always a root cause to everything. That's just the result of it. So I personally, we all about therapy on this podcast. So I personally would say that couple would need to go into couples therapy and talk it through to determine what is that root cause. Because I'm pretty sure if envy is on the table, there are other things that's coming out as well as a result of whatever that root is.
Wow, that's a great point.
So I think having a mediator in there, and it doesn't have to be a therapist, it can be someone that the both of them trust, and whatever, family member, friend, whatever, right? Whoever is in their circle that they feel comfortable with talking to. But I think that envy in a relationship can definitely be a killer and needs to be resolved as soon as possible.
Absolutely.
We don't have any envy in our relationship.
No, absolutely not.
What we do have is appreciation for each other's capabilities, though, and natural talents. Because the natural talents put together, we can't be stopped.
Oh, yeah.
What you're comfortable with doing, I might not be, and vice versa. What you're naturally gifted in, I might not be, and vice versa. But guess what? They all go together.
That's right.
And we lend our talents to each other all the time. As we should.
That's right. So, we definitely communicate very well when there's an area in which we need help.
Yeah.
Help in.
Exactly. So you guys, again, you watched our videos. We do not pretend to be perfect by any means. You're seeing the result of a lot of self-work, a lot of couples work, to get us where we are right now. We've not always been able to communicate or have these healthy boundaries in place, but we put in a lot of work and effort to get here, and we continuously are putting forth work. So that's why, again, we decided to bring our relationship to YouTube, to you guys, so we can share What did we do to get us here? So with that being said, baby, let's talk about what did we do to set up boundaries though. Because again, like we're, sharing with our supporters, it didn't happen overnight. We didn't get here overnight. So what did we do to set up these boundaries?
So, I believe that we were different in us setting up our boundaries, because our relationship span and the times that we have, because we did live with each other for a while,
right?
And then we didn't.
Yeah.
We don't at this point, but you have, you have your time in which you do things. You spend with friends and family. And I have my time.
Right.
As far as all the other boundaries, we have respect for each other.
Yeah.
And we understand that, we don't want to hurt each other.
Yeah.
So faithfulness and loyalty, those are parts of our boundaries.
Yeah. I agree, and I think that when we continue to grow closer to God too, that automatically helped us see some things a little differently. Now we butt heads quite a bit, to get here. There were a lot of misunderstandings, there were a lot of arguments, there were a lot of blow-ups, but we chose to work through those things because we loved each other enough not to give up on each other or the relationship. So it took some tough times for us to get here. But if you continue to put in the work, if you feel like your person is worth it, if you feel like your relationship is worth it, don't just give up in the midst of that heated argument, because you can work through it and you can get back to a place of center and learn from it. We talk about the fact that arguments, you can truly learn from arguments if you allow yourself to. Yes. Once you've calmed down, everybody is using, is in a space where they're sane. You don't have emotions running so high. You can come back and you can talk about what happened. How do we get to this place of breakdown, right? Take responsibility for your part. Each person take responsibility for their part because each party played a role in the breakdown most of the time, right? So take responsibility, apologize, and then make a commitment to one another. That you'll do better so that that same situation isn't repeated, But we're not here to tell you that it doesn't take work to get to this place of being able to create healthy boundaries. It does. Trust us, it does. But it's worth it. Like, he's worth it. Our relationship is worth it. So, my option was not to walk away. My option was, let's try to figure it out.
Yes. So do you feel like setting boundaries, having your own boundaries set, plays a major part in setting boundaries?
Yes, you see my face? Yeah. Absolutely. You have to know yourself well enough to know how to set expectations for another person, right? So I have to know myself first and foremost before I can set anything for you. I have to know how I like to be treated, how I like to be communicated to, how I like to be touched, how I like to be supported, all of these things before I can even tell you, right? And so my thing is being able to do that self-work and making sure that you at some point has taken time for yourself, doing things that you like, having conversations with your close friends, having conversations with your family, whomever you trust, whoever you have in your life that you know is going to be honest with you, right? Making sure that, they are not the type of people to just agree with everything that you say, but they say, you know what, you was wrong in that. Let me tell you why I feel like you was wrong. Because that's just going to teach you about yourself. And being able to identify your own feelings. Like, what makes you happy? What makes you sad? What makes you angry? What makes you feel nervous? What are you scared of? And knowing these things, like I said, I can communicate it to you. Yeah. So what you think about that?
I think that's spot on. Like, how can I, like you were saying, like you said earlier, like, how can I tell you, like, how can I get mad at you if you don't know Well, I don't know.
Yeah. Like, baby, and this is purely for an example because it's not true. If I know I don't like tacos, right? You're out and you bring us food and you bring me tacos and I'm mad and I'm like, baby, why didn't you bring me something to eat? And you're like, I did. I brought you tacos. Well, I don't like tacos. How can I get mad at you when you didn't know I like tacos? All you knew is that we both needed to eat.
Right.
And you know that you wanted Mexican food, right? So you was like, oh, let me get her some too. Like you're thinking, oh, let me make sure I take care of my other half as well.
No.
And now I got an attitude immediately as soon as I see, how is that fair to you?
It's terrible.
Like, so that's just an example of the importance of knowing how to communicate your wants and your needs. Like from a food restriction standpoint, I know what you don't like. So I'm not going to order anything with mayo on it. I'm not bringing you nothing that has mayo on it, in it, around it, nothing. Because that's a boundary that's something you clearly know about yourself. And that's something that you clearly have stated to me. Baby, I don't like mayo, period.
No mayo.
No mayo. He's allergic to mayo, you guys. So, so that was a boundary that you set, right?
It's a great example.
Yeah, and that's the boundary that I am like, okay, he don't like mayo. I'm not getting him mayo on anything.
That's a great example. Great example.
So, we've been setting boundaries without calling it setting boundaries. But I think another part though in that example is being comfortable enough to communicate it. Because you could have easily said, anytime I've, in the beginning offered to pick you up food, now I just get it, but offer to pick you up food, and you could easily have said, no, it's okay, I'll get my own food. And in your mind, you're like, because I know I don't like mayo, or she might mess it up, or whatever, and not even give me a chance to see if I would be successful in, in upholding your boundary. But no, you just like, in the beginning, you was like, no mayo, no mayo. Now you don't have to tell me nothing. I know how to order your food. I know what you like,
Better than me.
So, again, that's just an example. Communication, in relationship, you are constantly having to talk. You're constantly having to have discussions. And if you really take a step back as a couple and really think about how many times you and your partner converse a day about different things, you will be shocked at the number. We just go through the actions of just talking to each other, not really thinking about how many different conversations we have a day about different things.
It's like very subconscious.
Yeah, we talk about so much. Kids, business, our relationship, future things, wedding planning, all sorts of things.
Yes.
Like in a matter of hours.
Yes. So you gotta always be analyzing it.
It's work. It's constant work. But I use the word work. It doesn't feel like work though. It's just, to me, it's a matter of making sure we're on the same page as often as we can be. And as much as possible. Yes. Because when we're on the same page, on the same path, however you want to title it, then everything is running smoothly and our family is progressing in the same direction at the same pace.
How easy can it be to get off of alignment with boundaries?
Very easy. Very easy. Because ego can come into play to make a person get off track.
So you're just thinking about yourself.
Yeah, or they're like, they asking too much. Or it could be immaturity. They asking too much. I'm not doing all of that. Every time I turn around, it's something new. They don't like this. They don't like that. Right? Or it could be, I feel like they're giving more than what or they're getting more from me than what I'm getting from them. And then it turns into a competition situation. Which, again, to me, is just ego still.
Wow. Sounds like a little bit of envy in there, too.
Yeah.
They getting more than me.
Yeah. But also, that's also could potentially be a passive or a passive-aggressive communicator as well. because they not directly coming out and saying, listen, baby, X, Y, Z, right? They not directly, clearly coming out and having that conversation. So, when you talk about setting boundaries, it's a situation where a safe space is already needing to be established within that relationship before you can even have that conversation. I feel like, I feel like I can tell you anything and be taken seriously. I feel like I can tell you anything and not feel judged because again, we've already done the work to create and mold a safe space for the two of us.
So if there's a relationship that one may not feel is a safe space, what is a way to create? What is a way to show the other person that doesn't see it?
So first, I feel like understanding and figuring out why your relationship has not cultivated a safe space. Like did something happen where there was trust misused? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like why, or have you just not elevated to that point in your relationship? Like what has caused it for a person to feel like it's not a safe space, right? Once they determine that, then both people have to be willing participants to create it. I can't do it by myself. If you're not in it with me, my efforts are wasted, right? So figuring out why and then getting on the same page to be willing to work on it, and then actions. You know how I am about actions. A person can tell you anything with their words and do the complete opposite. I need your words and your actions to align always, right? So if you're saying to me, "Oh, baby, I definitely see where you're coming from. I will do my very best to be more consistent in this area," and I see those actions justifying or supporting what your words are saying, then that's helping me to build my trust, right, within a relationship, which is what's needed first and foremost. And that's not to say that I'm gonna hold you perfect. Right? Because there will be some slip ups, there will be some errors made because nobody's perfect, right? So, as both parties also need to give each other grace as well.
That's major.
And not put you up or put me up on a pedestal where because I've committed that I'm going to do this thing to you that I can't make any mess ups in this area whatsoever. It's liable to happen. Now, that's not the case in everything, right? Because when you think about fidelity, there's no mess ups there. That's a conscious decision. You know what I mean? But, like crossing a boundary of some sort, right? It's the potential there that could be a slip up. And that couple has to be okay with talking about it or talking it out.
Wow, that was a great point you made about the grace, baby.
Yeah.
That was a great point.
Yeah, because I love you and I want you to be successful in this relationship. I want you to have a great experience. I want to have a great experience. It's a waste of time, and again, this is just my point of view, my thoughts about our relationship. It's a waste of time to continue to harp on something or hold something over your head when we could just talk it through and move on to the next thing. And I think the way that I am as far as like moving so quickly with things, how I want things to just, I'm the same way with resolving things. Like, it's a waste of my time. Let's sit down or whatever, stand up, whatever, talk it out and move on. Like, that's a pet peeve of mine. Like, I don't like for things to carry on forever and ever.
Yeah. So forgiveness is a big part of boundaries too.
Yeah. I feel like it is. What you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Because like you said, you gotta, things are gonna happen. Words may be said, feelings may be hurt, and you have to be open to forgive.
You do, and also with the forgiveness though, that's also shown in action as well though. Like, if you do something that requires my forgiveness and you ask for it genuinely, that's fine. I'm going to accept it. But then the biggest showcase to me that you are truly regretful is a change in your behavior. Not doing the same thing that led you to have that discrepancy in the first place. Right?
Right.
So that truly would tell me that you're remorseful, that you really had no intentions of hurting me. So baby, we talked about physical boundaries. What about emotional boundaries in relationship and marriage? What are some emotional boundaries you feel?
I feel that honesty, faithfulness, and self-control.
Self-control. Self-control. Talk about that.
Self-control, being able to control your emotions and how you react to things that will happen.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, and you know how to respond to your mate and to outside forces.
Yeah. We've done a lot of talking and work as it relates to responding and not reacting, right?
Yes.
A lot. Because we both used to react.
Boot camp.
Yes. We was in boot camp. We've been in relationship boot camp. But honestly though, like, we've done a lot of work this last year.
Yes.
A lot of work.
Yes.
Prior to podcasting.
Yes.
We started doing work.
I agree.
Yeah. But that self-control, that's key.
Yes.
Cause go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it can make or break.
Yes. Because it's like, if I know that you have self-control, you're not just going to be out doing any and everything. Right? That doubled with your relationship with God and Him being first and foremost in your life, that's a boundary in itself, like I said before.
In itself.
So you won't go out and do any and everything. You're going to take to heart, not wanting to hurt me, not wanting to do anything to cause harm to our relationship.
Yes, I believe that self-control is one of the, most highest boundaries. Like you said, it covers a lot, covers everything.
I agree. So you mentioned honesty.
Honesty.
Now, that can be tough for a lot of people. And the reason why I say this is because, if you're doing things that you don't want your partner to know about, but then they find out about it and they confront you, are you going to continue to uphold that lie? Or can you dig deep within yourself and be honest and just worry about the consequences as it happens? A lot of people have trouble with honesty. I feel like we don't have trouble with honesty.
No.
Because the thing is too, it goes back to what I've said about creating that safe space. You have to be able to communicate about all sorts of things, not just great things, right? You have to be able to confront, and it's a way to do anything. So knowing that other person's boundary, right? Like, for instance, that I don't use profanity, and I don't like for profanity to be used directly towards me. Now, if a person is just having a conversation, they use it, whatever. But don't use it directly towards me, because I'm not going to disrespect anyone in that way. So if you know that's my boundary, right? And there's something that I need to ask you about, and I ask you, and you start with cursing at me, we got a problem. We got a problem. Especially when I've said that that's the boundary, right? So for one, it's a lot wrong with that. That crossed the boundary using profanity directly towards me. There's dishonesty there, So that creates a whole big situation.
Yeah.
Versus just being honest, like own up to whatever it is. And honesty could be, yes, I did this thing, or no, I didn't.
And honesty also falls into place as far as setting your own, you're having your own boundaries, like being honest about things that make you feel,
Yes.
Feel bad about maybe something that's said by your partner, and expressing that to them.
Yeah. And you know what? I remember we had a conversation. I had been to a photo shoot. I had to be a part of a photo shoot, and I came out to see you. And I remember we had a conversation that had something to do with clothing. And I asked you, I said, how does this make you feel? And you was honest. You was like, I don't like it. It was about a shirt. I'll remind you of it later. But you was honest. And more than anything, I wasn't offended or anything. More than anything, I was proud of you for being honest with yourself and then being clear and honest with me about it.
Oh yeah, I remember that shirt.
You remember?
Yeah.
So I was just like, listen, this is the relationship that he and I have built. There's nothing I can do. It's not for me to get mad and upset about it. It's not for me to just go and do it anyway when I know this is something that will make you not feel good. I appreciated the fact that you was honest enough with yourself and then with me. That's where maturity comes in at. Right? I'm not looking to create issues when there don't have to be an issue. If we said to each other, baby, I want you to share any and everything that you feel like sharing. I want you to respond in a way that works for you. Then we both have to accept when it happens. Right?
Right.
So I think that was a great example of, like you just mentioned, being honest with yourself. You knew how you felt about it. You was honest with yourself, and then you communicated it to me.
Yes. I could see how people do struggle. Because probably due to past relationships, or maybe their previous relationship that they're in, not being comfortable. But you definitely gotta get past those things, because if you don't let your mate know like what bothers you, then it's never gonna get to a point of you being comfortable in that relationship. As far as boundaries, how can you really stand on boundaries?
Yeah.
You can let people change your boundaries.
Absolutely. That's the key point. Letting people change their boundaries, especially if it's a core value. If it's a core value, it can't be changed.
Yeah.
So like we talked about, in the first part to this series, we talked about spiritual intimacy. Nobody's going to change my faith. I don't care who you are. Nobody is going to change the fact that I believe in God and God alone. Okay? That's a core value to me. Right? Nobody's going to do anything that makes me stop being integrous. That's not going to happen. Being honest. That's not going to happen. These are clear-cut core values. Right? So, no. That can't be a thing. But also, these core values have to be a part of the conversations that are had as well.
Yes.
And so, to your point though, babe, everybody is not at that place for sure. But what we're trying to stress the importance of is, if you make your list of pros and cons that we've talked about in another episode of, is your partner worth it? Is your relationship worth it? Then you can certainly do the work. We do a lot of research on certain topics. We make sure that we are, familiar with what we need to do, and we put forth actions to get it done. It don't happen overnight, but it definitely can get to a place of where we are now, where we are completely 1,000% comfortable with each other.
Yes. So I believe another way of, setting boundaries would be having positive conversations instead of negative conversations about your mate to maybe family.
Whoa, wait. Listen. Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, people, they have issues and they take it outside instead of having a conversation with the mate.
Correct.
They're speaking to their sister, brother, mother, father about the mate instead of going right to them.
Correct. No, sir. No, ma'am. That's not even a thing for me at all. But you're exactly right. People do that all the time. They vent, quote unquote, right? To their friends, family, whomever. And then walk around and give silent treatment to their partner instead of conversing about whatever the issue is. And it's a lot of results or negative results that can come from that, right? So now your significant others around your family, your friends, and they looking at them crazy, or they're not welcoming to them. They don't want to deal with them, and the partner's like, "What happened? What's going on?" Your spouse is the whole reason for the breakdown in the relationships.
They like, why your mom looking at me? Why nobody telling me? I don't know.
Like, that's crazy. No, sir. And also, another part to that is nobody can fix what's inside from the outside. Yes. Nobody can fix what me and you have going on. We have to work on that. We have to converse. We have to put forth the actions to make sure we get back on the same page. Nobody can really give you advice about what to do because every relationship is different. That's why we tell you guys that we're not on here to give advice. We talk about our real life relationship and just give you an opportunity to look at a different perspective. That is it. We understand that every relationship is different. Every person involved in the relationship is different, and there are different factors that come into play for every type of relationship there is. So what works for us may not work for you guys, or what works for us may work for you guys, but it's up to you guys to, make that decision, right? But one thing that I've always been adamant about, I was adamant about it in my previous marriage, I'm adamant about it with you. I'm always going to be respectful to you in public and in private, especially in public. We could just have had an argument and get invited to a family function, or we have already made plans to go out with friends, whatever. They would never know it. They would never know it. And to me, that's not being unhealthy. To me, that's saying, you know what goes on between us as far as a disagreement standpoint needs to stay here, because there's nothing no one else can say or do anyway to resolve. Right?
Yes.
So that is definitely a boundary that I've set for the both of us. It's not happening.
Thank you.
It's not happening.
I accept that boundary.
I'm not.
Because, I've definitely seen in my life that cause, divorces.
Yeah.
In the end of relationships with people going outside of their marriage and looking for resolve outside of the marriage.
Yeah.
And getting the wrong information. Because the people that people go to sometimes, you don't really know their intentions
Exactly.
for your relationship.
Correct. Please say that again. Look at the camera when you say it this time.
You don't know the intentions of the person you're going to for your relationship.
Listen, that is so true. They could look at what you have and want it.
Yes.
Or not even want it, but just don't want you to have it.
Right. Envy.
So that is so true. Be careful who you're turning to. Turn to your partner. Turn to your partner, or turn to a mediator that can be trusted, or who has the credentials to help you work through what you're going through, right? It's unnecessary to go to anyone else. And again, that's just our point of view. That's our opinion about it. I'm not going to nobody outside of my house to talk about what's going on in my house.
That's right. Because you can't, when you, as a human, when you're trying to figure out what's going on within yourself, you can't go to the outside. You got to go inside yourself and figure out when there's an issue that is maybe causing anxiety or depression.
Exactly.
And also, always go to God. That's the biggest mediator there is.
Absolutely.
With all the credentials.
Exactly. And then a thing too that I just thought about is, that is a boundary that you and I have created, right? And so because we've created that for each other in our relationship, it triggers into or transfers into a boundary that we've created for other people. Meaning, nobody can disrespect you in front of me and think I'm just gonna sit back and not say nothing.
That's right.
One of my best friends called me Key because she says that's the alter ego for me. That's the person who would come out. Like, it's not going to be, if I don't disrespect you as your partner, if our children don't disrespect you, nobody else, I don't care who it is, nobody else is going to disrespect you. Not in my presence. And I know you don't need my protection, but guess what? I'm going to do it anyway.
Thank you.
And you know I'm going to do it anyway.
Hey, I already know. I already
Correct.
seen it.
Correct. Like, that's not going to happen.
I already seen it.
So that's a couple's boundary. That's another relationship boundary that we've established. And I feel like people that are close to us, they know that anyway. So, like, we don't have issues like that.
That's right.
But they know that.
That's right.
So.
And I won't allow anyone to disrespect you.
No, never. No kind of way at all. So, baby, I think we need to talk about emotional boundaries.
Let's talk about it.
One of the biggest emotional boundary, or most important emotional boundary, is love. And that sounds very simple, I know, right? But when you're in a heated argument, you forget why you love that person. It's easy. You like, I don't like them right now. I want them out of my face. You know, I want my distance from it. Like, you thinking about all those types of thoughts, right?
Yeah.
You know, I wish he would just go in the other room. I wish she would just go in the other room, whatever. You're not thinking about love. But I challenge you guys to think back to the day of your wedding and how great you felt, how excited you felt to see one another. Groom, when your bride walked down the aisle, bride, as you were walking down the aisle, you know, think back to the vows that you stated to one another. Previous to that, think back to your proposal. As the man, why did you propose? As the woman, why did you say yes? Right? And let those type of thoughts really flood your mind so they can center you and bring you back. You know, think about some of the inside jokes that were created from your wedding day. Some of the crazy things that happened that maybe you didn't know the day of, but it got back to you later on. You're like, what? I didn't even know that happened, right? Like, let those types of memories flood your mind. Really think about the fact of why have you continued to stay with this person? Why did you choose to work through other issues in the past? Right? And so love can definitely be establish a solid emotional boundary. What you think, baby?
I totally agree with that because, you know, it's all about feeling.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you always remember a feeling, and the feeling of love,
mm-hmm.
and the feeling, especially the day, you know, you got married or proposed.
Yeah.
You always gonna remember the feeling that led to you proposing, and which is love.
Yeah.
And the feeling that led you to the vows.
Absolutely.
You know, it's kind of like I used to tell people when I was in manager role. You know, people they fill out applications, and you know they get the job, and then they, you know, after having the job for 6 or 7 months, then they want to start complaining.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I just tell them, listen, you know, you need to go back to before you filled out the application, when
Absolutely.
you was looking online for a job.
Absolutely.
And when you got the call for the interview.
Yep.
You know, you need to take yourself back to that.
That's right. That's so true.
Yeah.
Like what made me fall in love with you, right? What is it that I appreciate about you on a daily basis? You know, why did I say yes? Why am I looking forward to marrying you? You know, why am I looking forward to us living together, continuing travels, whatever, right? Like thinking about those things. How do you make me feel on a daily basis? You know, and if if and when I put myself in those types of situations, I can easily forget about whatever we're arguing about. Just because you make me feel loved and supported more than you make me feel anything else. So, I just think that that's a great, solid emotional boundary to set. Don't forget about why you even married this person in the first place. And 9 times out of 10, not only married the person, but then you decided to create life with the person. Right? So you made a conscious decision to do all these things with this person. Don't let an argument or a blow up take you out of that space. Do the work to bring yourself back to that mental space.
Yes, absolutely. That should definitely bring them back.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because you have your wedding album, you have so many memoirs and reminders of that day, and that day hopefully was special enough that you have great memories about it,
Yes.
So baby, we talked about physical boundaries and some emotional boundaries. What about sexual boundaries? What about sexual boundaries? What can that look like, you feel?
Well, it can be many different things,
Okay.
letting your partner know the things that you like, the things that you don't like, when you like, when you don't like, those type of things.
Yeah, what you're willing to do, what you absolutely will never do.
Yeah.
What you might want to try, right? Things like that. So I think that, it's very important to set and create sexual boundaries as well, to maintain, again, that healthiness in your overall relationship. Because more than likely, sex is a part of your relationship, right? It's a part of ours. Yeah. That's the only relationship I can speak for. But, communicating with you, hey, baby, you know what? I want to try this, right? Feeling comfortable in saying that. And then you have the opportunity to create a boundary and say, you know what? Let's try it. Or, no, that's not something I feel like I would be comfortable with, or vice versa, right? Yeah. Feeling comfortable enough to do that. On our previous episode, we talked about the sexual intimacy part. We shared turn-ons and turn-offs and things like that. Our own personal turn-ons and turn-offs. So we've had those type of conversations to understand, each other from that perspective. But also feeling comfortable enough to say no.
Yes.
So if you bring something to my attention, it could be, baby, no, I don't think I would be interested in doing that. Or no, I think maybe that's too frequent for me, or whatever the case may be, right? It could be a no at that time, but then if I step away, give myself time and really think it through, or maybe do some research or whatever, then I might come back to you and say, you know what? I think I want to try that now.
Yeah, so you feel like if someone gets rejected, then give the other person time to think about it.
I mean, that could be a thing. Yeah, they might just need time. They might not know much about it, and their initial instinct is to say no. Or it could simply be no, because maybe they have tried and had a bad experience or something happened, So people have a lot of reasons why they say no to things. But if it's a case of a partner just needing more time, then yeah, you absolutely have to allow that person more time.
So would you encourage people to, instead of just outright saying no, just say, hey, let me think about it?
I think that I would encourage people to not respond quickly and really process in their mind what they want to say and why they want to say it. Because guess what? An answer could be, you know what? I don't know. Let me take it away and think about it. Right? So it don't necessarily have to be a flat out no. It could be I don't know. Maybe I need to do some research about it. Maybe let's talk about it further or something like that, and then come back to the table with it. But that's also setting a boundary, though. A person does have a right to say no to a suggestion for whatever their reason is. And then the other partner has to be comfortable with that, right?
Yes.
Because if not, you're not helping to create a safe space from a sexual boundary standpoint.
Yeah.
Like you talked about frequency too. As a team, as partners, determining how much is, you know, how often do we want to have sex? What is too much? What is too less? Because people have different drives. And so, you might be like, I want it every day. And I might be like, once a week is enough. That's not real life, you guys. But like that, but that could be a situation,
Definitely could be.
Yeah, and I think it can be a tough conversation to have, to where you're trying to get on the same page, but it's necessary, and I feel like it can make your relationship, your sexual relationship, less stressful and more enjoyable, because you already have put things on the table. You already come to an agreement about things, and so you don't have to worry about boundaries being crossed, or you feeling like your partner can't be trusted, or you feeling unsafe.
Yeah, absolutely. Back to what you were saying about the times, you do have people that have health issues and things like that don't permit them to have the drive to have sexual, intimacy or intercourse.
Mm-hmm.
So that is something that some people do have to work through.
Yeah, and that was something that we talked about on our previous episode about sexual intimacy too, was the reasons why, like you said, drives are different. Some things are out of our control, but as a partner, you want to be understanding of those things, right? So, again, I think it's very important just to make sure that your partner feels safe in every aspect. Emotional, physical, sexual, and sit down and have those mature conversations. Sometimes they might be difficult to have, but they're very necessary, like I said, if you want to make sure you have a healthy relationship, healthy marriage. There's no way to get around it.
Yeah.
How to converse about these things,
Yeah.
right? And I think too, like you were saying before about setting boundaries for yourself, understand your own desires. What is it that I like? What don't I like? What do I want to try? Things like that. Understanding yourself from a sexual standpoint as well before I can even converse or explain it to you.
Yes.
So I think it's very important that, like I said, that is definitely done. So baby, before we wrap this episode up, we have to talk about misconceptions, because we started out talking about when people hear the word boundaries, they're like, oh gosh, how can you have a boundary in a marriage? We don't need boundaries. Can you talk about some of the misconceptions about boundaries though?
Well, some people see it as controlling. Some people see it as rigid.
Okay.
Some people see it as, oh, you don't want me to do something. You don't want me to do this, so you're gonna set this. You're gonna set this boundary,
Mm-hmm.
so you can, like I guess you would say, manipulative.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So some people can see it as that,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not.
Mm-hmm. Instead of all of that, it provides a safe haven. Is what they actually do. They provide safety.
Yes.
They provide partnership. It supports partnership.
Yes.
It supports strong communication skills. It supports emotional intelligence, right? It supports all these things because setting healthy boundaries, and I think that's the key. Setting healthy boundaries in, some of the examples that we provided on this episode will certainly allow you to have a successful, healthy relationship, marriage. So it's not about being controlling. I don't want to control you, but I feel it necessary to tell you what my expectations are though.
Yes.
And give you an opportunity to meet them.
Yes.
Right? And that's the way that love is shown.
Yes. Love, trust.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, all that, and another picture, it also helps with just the outside too.
Yeah.
You know, not just within the relationship, but with the outside.
Yeah.
You know, other people, outside world.
So can you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah. So if you have boundaries set within your relationship, then as far as the outside world, then your loyalty and faithfulness within your boundaries within your marriage can be also shown to your other facets of life.
Yeah, completely agree. Completely agree. So, the thing is, we wanted to talk about boundaries and talk about it from a healthy perspective, and showcase that we've also established many boundaries in our relationship. And it has and continues to support the level of trust, the level of love, the level of open communication that and so many more things that we currently have.
Yes.
So
Boundaries are beautiful.
Boundaries are beautiful. I love it. So before we end or close out this episode, we always have to offer a relationship tip of the week, right? Would you like to provide the relationship tip, baby?
I'll lay it on you.
Oh, you want me to do it?
Yeah.
I never do it.
Yeah.
You guys go back to season 1. Go back to season 1. Go back to our couple episodes that we've already produced season 2. You always do it, but okay.
We're going to switch it up a little bit. I'm going to put you on the spot.
Okay, so you just set a boundary just right there. All right. So what I would say as a relationship tip is do not be afraid to put in the work. Determine if your relationship and your partner is worthy enough, and if you determine that they are, put in the work. It's hard. It's going to take time, but the benefits that you can reap from those will be well worth it. Like, it's amazing to be in a relationship where you feel loved and supported wholeheartedly in every area that you can imagine, right? It is amazing to be in a relationship where you can be who you genuinely are to your core. You don't have to change or dim your light or be someone who you're not, but you're celebrated for being you and you authentically. So put in the work once you determine that that person is worth it. That's my relationship tip.
Great. You did beautiful.
Thank you.
Great tip.
So you guys, we really appreciate you spending this time with us for another relationship, for another episode. We thank you for, all of the support that you've given thus far. Make sure that you have subscribed to this episode if you have not. And follow us on all of our social media platforms. They will be listed in the description below. As well as our Patreon link too. So, there are different levels of exclusivity that we're offering to you guys. So make sure you go and click that link. Choose whichever, exclusivity that you want to support. And then follow the steps to do so. We would love to have you be a part of that family. We definitely offer some additional benefits that we don't offer for YouTube or our social media platforms. So that's just another level and just another way that you can get closer to us as well. So again, we appreciate all of your support. And if there's nothing else, baby, we will say have a great week.
Have a great week.